Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Eeny, meeny.
I just the stuff in front of you.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good much. I need to order so much of this. Oh my gosh.
I know it's all kinds of. Flip it around to the fingering.
Don't look. Don't look. It's been a good seller, which is great. Is that a good one?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'll do that. So maybe. Hi.
Okay.
Good morning and welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
You have to think about that
Yeah.
because you were gonna flip flop your hair. Isn't that cool? She just did. She flip flopped her hair. I do this. I keep it as contained as I possibly can at this point. And then it gets all fuzzy during the day from like the wind and my mask. And I just look like a mad scientist by the end of the day. It's great. I overanalyze myself, but it's great. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in gonna be hot again, but maybe not as hot as yesterday, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
That's why her hair's on top of her head. Because it's already hot outside. It's 81 degrees outside already. I know we have viewers who are dealing with hotter temperatures than us, but it's still hot for us. And we hang out outside most of the time because this is the only time we have no masks in the shop. Most of the time, if we want to not have masks on, we're out there.
Which is actually beneficial since I don't have air conditioning and, I go
It keeps you acclimatized so you don't go home and die.
I don't go home and die. It's like, this is actually kind of cold inside. And
well, I had to crack my windows at home because I have some air coming from outside underneath, but like my mini splits, I think upstairs just circulate air, maybe. And so it's getting a little musty in my house, like not super hot, but musty.
Yeah.
So I cracked some windows before I came to work to get some fresh air in the house. And I mean, I'm grateful that I have,
Yeah.
You don't. So anyway, that's always just awkward. But I also, here's my dilemma, which is, so first world problem. I got this weighted blanket to like help me sleep and help me deal with, anxiety and stress and everything. That makes it hot at night. So my room could be freezing and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so overheated.
So I got home last night and Bernie's like, it's 87 degrees in the house, and it was actually cooler outside, even though it was probably a temperature or two.
No, I know what it's like when that happens, because the hot air, the cold air is not in the house, or the cooling off air. Yeah.
So ordered a couple more fans and
just blow the hot air around.
It's more the living room area that's hotter than like the bedrooms, because the bedrooms bigger, have window fans. And so, and then I was like, ooh, I'll get some cooling towels for Bernie because he's outside a lot too during the day. Like,
oh yeah, those things that shout out to Suzanne that she was mentioning, right?
So I got some cooling towels for him to wear around his neck while he's outside, or if he's inside and he's just hot. And then I was like, let me look at like cooling blankets. I've heard of them, and it came up in Amazon, and
I don't think I have money for it, but
I got they say they're a blanket, but it's more like a sheet that's bamboo, and so they weren't that expensive. So I'll have to tell you, but in the reason I went off on this squirrel is because in the search there was cooling weighted blankets. And I'm
also putting the blanket over my down comforter because I don't, I can wash the cover on that. I don't know if I can wash this weighted blanket too easily. So,
So anyway, but that was the squirrel that I was like, ooh,
that is a good squirrel.
There was cooling weighted blankets there.
Well, go ahead.
I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about the cooling sheets. But we'll experiment and report back because supposedly they're good for, hot flashes and heat exchange and blah, blah, blah. And we'll find out. They weren't that expensive, so I don't know how well they work.
Right.
So,
Oh man.
yeah.
Okay. Well, and then here's my other latest thing. I don't know how well it's amazing I'm as perky as I am right now, considering how I slept last night, because the cat woke me up several times. And I think the cat has decided, because okay, I'm going to tell the story in backwards order.
Okay.
How I figured out why I think he was so just pissy last night is once I got up and went to go to my bathroom stuff and came back, he was sprawled out on my weighted blanket this morning. Very comfy, cozy looking. He did not look comfy, cozy sharing the bed with me last night. And when I went to leave the house today, couldn't find him. He was up on my bed. I think he likes how it feels under him when he's lying on it. And he's decided, since I'm not home very much, I'm the intruder to the bed at night. The bed is his, and this blanket is his. And how dare I? Because at 3 o'clock in the morning, he is not sprawled out on it. He is like this, staring at me from the bottom half of the bed, with a look on his face that even without contacts and glasses, I can tell he's pissed at me. So I think he's decided that I'm the intruder and it's his bed, because it's one of his favorite spots now, and these favorite spots rotate. So I didn't sleep very well last night, and I think that I chugged some coffee before driving in here is the only reason I'm perky right now. So yeah, we'll see how today goes. Anyway,
Same as yesterday and the day before. We're hot and tired.
Yeah, but I'm feeling awake for the moment. So y'all are getting my A game, just because. I mean, we'll see how much that mentally holds up as we film, right? Just because. So I was again, another squirrel before we get to our questions today. I was talking about the Billie sweater that I noticed. I want to say Espace Tricot or someone was posting about it, which drew my attention to it because they were inspired by Dairy Girls. Both one of the teens in it and the sister who runs the school, they had screenshots of them wearing this like Aran sweater. And by Aran, I mean that classic Irish, tons of cables and tons of like all over, all of it. Yeah. And they were using the Billie sweater pattern, Billie. And whether that is, I was looking at this listing of it because I was like, is it inspired by Dairy Girls? I don't know. I think it just is. It is by Sari Norlund, Sari, Sari Norlund. I will try to put it in the description. And I was like, ooh, because it's actually written for Cascade 220. The worsted. Cool. It's written for Cascade 220. That's the reason why I suddenly went, ooh, I have this sagey green at home that I'm going to be making, or I was planning on making a cardigan out of from Baby Cocktails stuff. And ooh, maybe I'll make this instead. And we were joking, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, about I've already made the pockets, but now I'm going to abandon it. Yes. Okay. I've decided, I think it was yesterday, I've decided I'm not going to abandon that project. I mean, it may get abandoned for other reasons, right? But this kind of sweater, because a reel that I sent Liz this morning, which she probably hasn't watched yet. I have. Did you watch the reel about the Irish and the German? Yes. And the cake? The guy, when he's playing the Irish guy instead of the German guy, is in one of these sweaters. Oh, yeah. Like full cables, like the honeycombs there. And I went, what makes it a classic? I mean, and let me finish my sentence. What makes it a classic Irish sweater, or just Aran, oh, lovely, gorgeous, is that it is off-white or white, is that it is that neutral color. And there's something to be said for taking like a traditional garment and making it your own by doing it in a color. But I said, no, the only way I can do this justice is if I do it in straight up wool in an Aran color.
If I had done that sweater, or was going to do that sweater, I would do it in red.
Oh God, that would be gorgeous.
Like white sweater, that would get so like,
And okay, also
For
let's
me.
be honest. If and when, it's more of a when. There's so many things I should finish before I start this. You know how that goes. I'm going to try to make it a when down the road, and it could be a when next month. I don't know right now. But when I make this sweater, I'm going to do it in this color. And it's probably going to be a hang it up and look at it sweater. Like on occasion, I will wear it for you all and maybe here at the shop. But it is not like just for the same reason. It's not going to be my go-to, yay, white sweater. I'm going to wear it every day because that's not me. Mostly because I spill stuff.
I'm not nodding because she spills stuff, but she does. But I'm nodding because it's a white sweater.
Because
and
we all
like,
spill stuff, right?
Yeah, it's
I mean, but some things just look classically beautiful. Like I do have a shawl. I do have the Wellerman shawl that I made in like a natural color. That natural color is not like, wait. It's like, you know, and it gets admired so often because it's just, it's beautiful. Is it something I would functionally wear? Probably not, but it's beautiful. And like, I think we need a classic, like looks like
Yeah.
it was bought from a shop in Ireland sweater
do.
here in the shop. And cables all over it, people. Oh my gosh. Like I love cable. Like that was okay. I'll calm myself down in a minute and move on to other topics. But that was also why I was kind of like that's what I wanted from the cardigan I was making. The cardigan I'm making has some simple cables and like imitation honeycombs that are actually very simple to do. So I will still make that one because if someone doesn't want to do the super intense cables, which are also really easy to do, they could do the thing in the baby cocktails sweater. I think it's called Angel's Envy.
Yes.
Like as I'm talking, the name bubbled up. But this, oh my gosh, this has a very classic, like I've probably been looking for a sweater like this and stumbled across it in someone else's Instagram post. That's when social media is fantastic, right? This was published. It's a recent pattern. It was published in December of 2021. So grand scheme of life, it's a fairly recent pattern. It's not like it was published in 2010, and which doesn't sound like a long time ago, but it's starting to be a long time ago now, which is just crazy. Because 1980 was 20 years ago, and I stand by that. Anyway, yeah. So I have 4 or 5 sweaters right now that I am really itching to do, and shout out to Mary Lou. People like Mary Lou are reminding me that I have some really awesome sweaters on needles that I really should finish. So I just need someone to create a multiverse where I can exist at several times at once so I can knit all of them and finish all of them and still run my shop. Other note of business, and then we're getting to our questions. Told y'all that this is on sale with the Sun Dragon and all the gadgets and gizmos, the gauge that like has so much cool stuff on it. I didn't realize when I set these up, I set up a matrix because we got another little gauge from them. And it's North Carolina is for knitters, and it's just the needle gauge. You can see the holes in it, right? This one, it's $14.95, but it's a matrix. So like when you, by that I mean when you go to the listing for the Katrinkles needle gauge, both of these show up as a drop-down menu. You pick one or the other, which means I can't separate them with the code product of the week discount. So both of them are on sale this week. So if you want the more generic but North Carolina specific, North Carolina is for knitters, that is also going to be 15% off this week with the code product of the week with spaces at checkout. And almost sneezing again. What is it about filming this and me feeling like I need to sneeze? And then the one with the Sun Dragon logo is the one with all the gadgets and gizmos. That's $17.95. That is 15% off this week only. Till next Tuesday. Okay. With the code product of the week at checkout. Okay. That was my, you can see the different sizes. That was my other piece of business. So now we can move on to our Dear Becky and Lizzie questions.
Okay. Let me curl that into place.
This is why I don't knit when we do this, because oh my gosh,
It's
You
an
would not
easy
get
row.
my brain would not be able to communicate. It barely is anyway. So we have a card and it says a little note with an 8th note on it. It's so cute. Okay.
Dear Becky and Liz, I am storing my sweaters for the summer. I have one made of superwash merino. I spilled something on it and just spot washed it at the time. I think the spot came out, but I am not sure. I'd feel better washing the whole sweater, but have trouble getting it back to the right size. It grew on me last time. Is dry cleaning ever an option? If not, any tips on keeping it the original size? Baffled in Brevard.
Okay, baffled and Brevard. I'm gonna approach some of this. Like, I don't know if we have a guaranteed answer to this, first of all. Approaching it backwards a little bit. Dry cleaning. Sorry. I feel like dry cleaning is just always an unknown. It depends on how well you know your dry cleaner and how comfortable you are like discussing things with them about care for hand knit items and how much they might know about how to take care of hand knit items. And like there's so many variables that go into taking it to a dry cleaner.
I would say if you take it to a dry cleaner, take the ball band with because some say don't dry clean and some have specific instructions for the dry cleaner.
Some say all solvents are fine.
Yeah.
Like because they know you'll take it to a dry cleaner.
But
like I've seen some ball bands that have that. And then
yeah, there are certain symbols that they'll know.
And some dry cleaners, like I said, might be familiar with hand knits and how to take care of them. And some, especially if they're a big place, might just be like, this is a sweater and here's what we do with sweaters in general. And I always caught, because people think, oh, if it's hand wash only, then dry cleaners are the next step up on that. And you just never know what harsh solvents and chemicals and things they might use at the dry cleaners, that since there's no label on your handmade item, that's why Liz is suggesting take the tag. Like I would imagine, I'm not a dry cleaner. So again, I'm not meaning to disparage dry cleaners. I just don't know, but I would imagine when you're running a business like that, some of it is going off of what the care instructions in the label say to do. And a hand knit is something that doesn't have a label to tell you, yes, you can do this. No, you can't. Yes, this can go be like steam cleaned or not, or, you know, and it's much like a lot of people say, don't wash, even if it's machine washable, don't wash it with normal laundry detergent because it's going to strip some of the dyes and the good things of yarn out of it. And all of that for me is anecdotally learned and not necessarily I have scientific proof and I know this to be the case. But I'm always wary that just because dry cleaning sounds fancier doesn't mean it's going to work better for you. So and I would say, if you have a dry cleaner you feel comfortable having the conversation with of, this is my hand knit garment and here's what I made it out of, and do you think you can appropriately take care of this and make sure it doesn't get bigger? And like we have a woman, shout out to Astrid, that does blocking and finishing services for us, and she's someone you could give all those notes of like, can you block this and try to make it this size, and she knows what you're talking about. So I'm wary of sending things to dry cleaners because I make assumptions that they're going to make assumptions and it's not going to come out okay. And they're going to say, well, we just did it that we do with everything. And sorry, this is what happened. You know? So it's really worth having a heart to heart with your dry cleaner and saying, and not like a my soup has a fly in it type of conversation where it comes off snooty and then they want to spit in your food, you know, kind of thing. It's like, well, you're a dry cleaner, so you can't handle this. So I'm going to lecture you on my hand knits now. That's probably not the best way to start off a conversation with a dry cleaner.
I would,
you know, it's like,
if the ball band for the yarn, if you even have the ball band for the yarn, has the little symbols on it, because some of them don't, like some of our newer, you know, or not newer, but our indie dyed yarn does not.
Yeah.
They don't have the little symbols. But if it's a commercial yarn and they put the symbols there, that all those symbols mean different things.
Mhm.
Like what temperature, if you're machine washing it, lay flat to dry. It could go in a cool dryer. Don't iron it. Don't bleach it. Don't put certain chemicals. Like
well,
all
and
the-
we always caution people to use the hand wash, like the wool wash, the things that are
Mhm.
specific to that. And a dry cleaner may have those and they may not, you know, they may only have the stronger stuff. And I know a lot of delicate things people take to dry cleaners, so I would assume they also have some delicate stuff, but you know, let them know that. Don't just drop off the sweater and be like, it'll be fine. So and then backing up to the washing, so the essential question was washing a superwash merino sweater and not wanting it to grow. And that is like, not all superwash merino is the same, unfortunately. So it's like I can give you advice and it might not work. There's some superwash merinos which I've seen all over the internet, like superwash merino grows when you block it and all this, and I haven't necessarily experienced that. But I also might be super careful about how damp my garment is when I lay it out to dry. And I've talked about it before, I do the whole squishing it back into the right measurements. So we would say just the same as a fresh sweater that you've just made that you're about to block, measure it before you wash it. So you know the measurements you want to get it back to. And don't lay out a sweater to dry that is sopping wet, because one thing I've noticed about the superwash merinos I've worked with, and again, they're not all the same, is if it's heavy and wet and like if it has more weight to it, it's going to want to relax and take on that new shape that the weight of water adds to it. So it sounds like if you might try washing it in your washing machine, again, gentle, all that kind of stuff. Or if you're trying to soak it and get it out, definitely spin it if that's a possibility in your washing machine. If you have a washing machine with a spin only cycle, and we've discovered talking to customers that not all washing machines do. Some of them, you just have to do the whole cycle. You can't do spin only, but spin only will take out so much of the moisture so that you have a better chance of laying it out and having it be the right size rather than the damp one that wants to like,
if you don't have a spin only cycle, you roll your sweater or whatever in a towel. I would put it in a towel, squeeze,
not
put
rings,
the towel on the
squeeze.
floor and dance on it. Like you want to get as much.
And if this towel gets soaked through, get another towel.
Yeah.
Get a fresh dry towel and do it again.
Yeah.
Until the towel doesn't soak through anymore, to get as much moisture out as possible. For some people, I advise this with caution. Some people will advise throwing it in the dryer for just a little bit, like maybe once it's really dry or almost dry. Sometimes putting a superwash merino, if the label says it can go in the dryer, just for a little bit will help it kind of fluff back to its original shape. But I'm not saying that as this will work, do it, because that's with caution. It shouldn't ruin your garment, but if you're at all concerned about it, don't do it.
And we have people who have put it in meaning to go back in like 5 or 10 minutes and life got in the way.
So set a time, like do the timed dry setting.
Make sure that
do something like that.
Like try and make sure that you are uninterrupted for whatever time.
Or try to make it as idiot proof as possible. Like, of course I'll come back. Oh my gosh, I've gotten distracted. Like I've been like, I'll wash my dishes tonight. I'll turn on my dishwasher. And the next morning I go, I forgot to do that.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of that. But yeah. So, that's my caution on that. But, I'm just looking this over. And superwash merino is something that I use when I'm making stuff to give away as gifts. And then once it's out of my hands, what happens to it, especially if I made a sweater, I superwash wool, like the Cascade 220 superwash. I've made cardigans for my niece, and I'm assuming they washed and dried it. They may not have, but I have not had my sister come back to me saying, oh my gosh, this thing got massive. What did you, like, what can we do? Or maybe she's embarrassed and doesn't tell me. I don't know. But so I think that's the best we have on that.
Yeah.
And we don't have a ton of time left. So let's see. We got an email from one of our regular viewers, and we're just gonna pop out a few things from it. So
she was wondering what my ranunculuses and sock yarn, ranunculi and sock yarn look like. Inquiring minds want to see how they work up. And am I using a size 10? I am using a 10.5 or an 11, depending on life.
that's her go-to for her ranunculi.
So this is,
I'll hold up the ball.
this is that one.
This is the super sock. It's got aloe vera and jojoba in it, and we ran out of these, so we haven't been advertising these for sale for y'all. But it's online sock. We have other patterning sock yarns by them.
It is striping, but the stripes are like half of the sweater, but they're alternating which half. Like it's actually
and you were saying,
coming out pretty cool.
Yeah, you were saying that cool. The short rows look cool, and that all of your sweaters are still way up in the yoke part.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we have so many projects on needles. I've stalled out on half of my stuff.
Just a note for the world. Last week, I got completely bored with everything I was doing. Like, I'm over it.
Said no knitter ever.
And I started a bunch of new projects that now I'm over. And anyway, so this is actually bringing me back to my ranunculi. So she's
knitting them while we're on camera, so she's making some progress.
This is the cotton one. And the short rows actually come out really cool. The Tutti Frutti.
The Tutti Frutti. Yeah. And I want to make socks out of this. It does little stripy things based on fruit. And you can still see stripes with the sweaters, which are a much bigger circumference around, which is really cool.
This one is on 11s, and it's the Fraser Island in the Perth.
Perth is a slow color change, fadey, and stripy.
It's slowly fading through.
That's really cool. I really like that. I think we're out of this color. I can try to bring it back in, but it's been hard to keep up with. Like, lots of stuff left the shop in the beginning of the month, and it's a struggle to replace it all. It's not like, oh, we made all this money so we can replace everything we sold, because I'll have a longer conversation with y'all about that some other time, about how we can't just instantly replace what gets sold.
This one's my double point sweater, and the short rows in the back actually
it did a
stacked.
That's really cool.
The little jacquard. So,
and that was the heritage prints
mod.
This stuff.
Back.
And that brings us to the other part of her email.
Do you work with short rows in the front as well as in the back? I hear some people leave the front ones off, and I'm curious if that interferes with the motifs below. Okay, apart from needle sizes and losing the will to knit on sleeves and torsos.
Yes.
I'm a pattern follower. Like, I can't think outside of the box. Like, I might change ribbing to seed stitch because that's the tiniest.
And you do like embellishments on the sleeves and stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
But that doesn't.
But if there's a yoke, or like even if it's just a plain raglan, my brain won't let me change much on the pattern. So,
sorry, you look like you're about to say something.
I do the short rows in the front and in the back because that's what the pattern says. But you don't have to. It shouldn't change your stitch count if you leave them out of the front.
So yes, what I was gonna say is most traditional sweaters have something in the back to raise up the back. It's like this t-shirt. If I put this t-shirt on backwards, this part of the collar would be like instead of down here. So most sweaters only have short rows or something to raise up the back. The ranunculus is, I wouldn't say it's unique because I'm sure there's other patterns that do this, but in my experience, it's the only one I've knit of the like 10 or 20 I've done so far that have short rows in the front as well. And I'm sure she has a reason for that. I'm sure it kind of helps the pattern maybe settle in the front and the back in a different way. Since most sweaters only do the shaping in the back, to leave it out in the front should be fine. it's changing the pattern, but it's like Liz just said, it shouldn't change how the motif, how you knit the motif. It'll still be there. It might not drape down. It might be a little higher because there's not a little half moon right here. It's a shallower one than in the back. Short rows don't change your stitch count. It's one of the things we were talking about before we filmed. They add volume to different places on the sweater, but they should not change your stitch count. If you do the short rows and you have a different, on any sweater, and you have a different stitch count than before you started the short rows, something went wrong. And you either fudge it there or you back it out. It shouldn't change the yoke work, and the patterning should work even if you don't do any of the short rows. But then the collar will sit on you differently if you don't. That's the biggest thing, really.
I like doing the short rows both sides, especially in the self-patterning yarn, because
it adds a little.
It adds, like, this is the back short rows on the watermelon yarn.
It does like
looks
an
like a
eye
watermelon
thing. Yeah.
And then the front is completely different. So I liked that because just, you know, watching, hey, what's going to happen in the color change of yarn with the short rows.
Speaking of that, color change of yarn and the ranunculus, the Vivo that we showed off yesterday, the like DK sport weight cotton that does a color change.
It would
we had at least one person yesterday buy it for a ranunculus, and I think it would look awesome. Like, and you'd have the colors would shift. Like as it gets bigger here, it's going to have a different color change, possibly stripy look than when you're doing the torso. So it's something to keep in mind if you want something that, like, for some people, a color changing ranunculus sounds awesome, and for some people, it's like, oh no. So
well,
my
zombie shuffles is like complete and utter, like, all color change,
and that's
it's not
variegated.
stripey,
It's
it's
like,
just variegated.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the patterning still shows up.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes when someone's asked, how will this knit up? It depends on what you're making from it. So we can't tell you how it's going to knit up because we could be wrong, because you're going to do something wider or narrower. Like sometimes a variegated yarn will stack and pool, and sometimes a stripy one will stripe or won't because it gets wide enough. It's just like, it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So
these have been fascinating to go through and see that, you know.
And that's probably why she asked, what do they look like? And we still only have the top parts. Eventually, in theory, we'll see more of it.
I'm just now starting the first row of pearl slip one with yarn in front pearl. Like that's where I'm at in the yoke.
Very cool.
So,
so we have to go set up for the day, and I'll get this out as soon as I can because we have drop-in help time today if anyone shows up. And I could have that beginning crocheter could show up again. I don't even know. Anyway, we play it by ear, but it means we should try to get the outside set up as soon as we can. Tomorrow is not a filming day, but there is virtual sit and stitch from 7 to 9 p.m. at night. And we try to keep that as mellow as we can. And get in on Zoom with the shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
All right. And then I think we have a break until next week, finally. So I have the sock forum on Saturday morning. If you're local and want to come, it's $20, no appointment needed. Ask questions or start a sock or get help on a sock in the morning from 10 to 12. And then we have in-person sit and stitch from 1 to 4 p.m. In the afternoon on Saturday. So there's that. Anyway, I think that's it. I think we got to go.
Yeah.
But it's always good to talk to y'all. If you want to send us a question, you can write a letter, which is awesome, and address it. And it's Dear Becky and Lizzie, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712. And if you'd rather email us,
Liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
Email her, not me, because if you email me, I'll just forward it to her or it'll get lost. Because I have so many other emails I'm trying to answer. I won't be able to find it on a Thursday. So we hope that y'all are staying healthy and happy and as stress-free as possible by doing maybe some knitting or crocheting. And we will see you next week, right? Bye.